Humans will do incredible things in the pursuit of gold, from putting themselves at immense danger and risk to engaging in activities that are truly incredible. In this video, we're going to take a look at a tunnel that was blasted through an area known as Pound Bend in Warrandyte, Victoria. The Pound Bend Tunnel, also known as the Evelyn Tunnel, is situated on the Yarra River in Warrandyte, Victoria, Australia, about 24 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. This tunnel spans 145 metres in length, 6 metres in width and 4 metres in depth. The Evelyn Tunnel Mining Company, established as a public entity on the 8th of February 1870, aimed to construct a diversion tunnel at a narrow bend of the Yarra River. This project intended to redirect the river's course, exposing 5 kilometres of riverbed for potential alluvial gold mining. Despite efforts, the company's financial returns failed to cover expenses, leading to its closure in September 1872 without ever issuing dividends. Over time, modifications were made to either decommission or alter the tunnel to allow the Yarra River to flow in its natural path once more, rather than through the artificial diversion created by the tunnel, and as you can see, it was largely successful, with the river flowing along its original course again with only minor amounts of water flowing through the opposite side of the tunnel. The tunnel took 3.5 months to be cut through the mountainside, and it was done so at a cost of 2,100 British pounds sterlings. This would be almost 13,600 Australian dollars today. The rock tunnelled through a clay slate and sandstone which were intersected in places by quartz leaders which may or may not have contained gold. Warrandyte is the closest goldfield to Melbourne, and it contained a substantial quantity of gold which was shed from the Silurian age quartz reefs. The reefs here were small, known as stringers, which made hard rock mining difficult, unlike areas like Bendigo which had gold-rich quartz reefs several feet to metres wide. Regardless of this, a significant enrichment of the quartz stringers existed in Warrandyte, and the gold shed from it through erosion made its way into Anderson's Creek which joined with the Yarra River. Prior to the construction of the tunnel, the way that miners worked the Yarra River was by constructing something known as a cofferdam. These cofferdams were semicircular structures that were built out from the bank of the river, after which water was pumped out to allow the miners to work the alluvial gold present. Rich results were reported by using this primitive method of alluvial mining, which spurred the Evelyn Tunnel Mining Company into taking on such a large-scale project required to tunnel through the ridges of the Yarra. The tunnel cut through this section of the Yarra. As a side note, if you're enjoying this video, please click the like button to help YouTube recommend it to others. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support the channel, only if you have the means of course, and you can find that both in the description and in a pinned comment down below. The company acquired 6 miles or 9.6 kilometres of land to work by the government. The rock that the company blasted through was extremely hard, so hard that only a foot of rock at a time was blasted using dynamite. This was a slow-moving endeavour requiring a ridiculous amount of explosives to achieve their end goal. A cofferdam was constructed around the entrance of the tunnel to stop water from flowing in until the project was completed. A fall of 10 feet or 3 metres from the entrance of the tunnel to the end of it was produced to allow the water to properly flow into and out of the tunnel. Due to the extremely hard nature of the rock, it was not necessary to brick it, and it was left in the same state as it was in when it was blasted through. Several dams were built to further control water flow. Some were temporary, while a more permanent one north of the tunnel was constructed to allow processing of the material. Any evidence of these dams no longer exists as urbanisation of the area in the past century has covered up all traces of it. After the tunnel was finally completed, 3 miles or almost 5 kilometres of the river was left bare. The company expected to hire 1,000 men for the job, and the only machinery needed was pumps to further dry out the now exposed riverbed. A good quantity of gold was recovered from the pay dirt, and the company utilised sluices to separate the gold from the dirt. Once the river was dried up, what was left was bare bedrock, upon which crevices were meticulously cleaned and swept out to remove any pay dirt. They were also broken up using pickaxes to further extract any gold that had sunk to the deepest cracks present in the bedrock. In the first 12 days of work, 22 men extracted over 70 ounces of gold from the dry riverbed. There were 2 additional tunnels that were proposed by the company after achieving their first initial riches from the river, but these tunnels never came to fruition. The Evelyn Tunnel Mining Company concluded its operations in September 1872. It was wound up primarily due to financial reasons. Despite efforts to divert the Yarra River through the tunnel to expose the riverbed for alluvial gold mining, the returns from the operation did not cover the initial costs and ongoing expenses. This financial failure led to the decision to wind up the company in September 1872, as it did not achieve profitability or provide returns to its shareholders. Historical reports indicate that the Evelyn Tunnel Mining Company sunk shafts as part of their mining operations. Sinking shafts would have been undertaken to access and extract alluvial gold deposits along the riverbed after diverting the Yarra River through the tunnel they constructed. These shafts were likely part of their efforts to maximise gold extraction in the area. Specific historical records detailing the exact amount of gold extracted by the Evelyn Tunnel Mining Company are not readily available in general sources, making it hard to know exactly how much gold was won. But it seems like the construction of the tunnel to divert the Yarra was an effort made in vain, as the company only lasted for 2 years. They mentioned that it was possible that quartz reefs which were hidden by the Yarra may be exposed by the diversion tunnel, but I couldn't find any reports of hard rock mining activity by the company. So it's likely they either found barren quartz or there wasn't as many reefs as they had hoped for. So this is the incredible story of the company that blasted through a hillside and rerouted the Yarra River. In present times, all that is left to remind us of their work is the extremely dangerous tunnel that exists. A few people have lost their lives trying to get from one side of the tunnel to the other, so it's not recommended to take this journey even when the river is at its lowest. Thanks for watching. Are you interested in animals? I've just started a second channel called PaleoZoology that discusses extinct and extant animals with a current focus on the megafauna that once roamed and dominated Australia. I've released a video on the Marsupial Lion which existed in Australia during the time Indigenous Australians walked the continent. I have also covered the Wombat that was the size of a car, known as the Diprotodon. I'd love to have you along for the journey as more videos are released. You can find a link to this channel in the description and in a pinned comment in the comment section down below.